The Health Report at BBC News. Organisers at the Montreal World Health Organization conference have stated that their goal for the conference is to create a charter for refugee health. To facilitate the relationship between country delegates, pharmaceutical representatives and NGOs, organisers have implemented a new twin initiative, the Social Responsibility Score and the Public-Private Feasibility Index. For this, we welcome to the programme Jodie Cartwright, an economist from the World Bank.
Hello, Darren.
Why do the organisers include these two indices?
Well, first and foremost, it is important to consider that although the countries will be the ones who will write, vote on, and ultimately attempt to implement the charter, much of the actual work will be done by NGOs, with much of the medical supplies coming from pharmaceutical companies. Therefore, in order for the resolutions to have any meaning, the countries will need to include the representatives from both the NGOs and the pharmaceutical companies in their negotiations.
Does that leave the door open to undue influence from non-state actors?
Not at all. After all, it is only the representatives of nations who have the right to submit a resolution for debate, and only they can vote. Of course, some of the countries who are beholden to pharmaceutical companies have been known to submit resolutions that are essentially crafted by the pharmaceutical companies, so there is a bit of meddling in certain areas. Of course, this is only natural. The pharmaceutical companies are important cogs in the economies of advanced nations, and so will have a vested interest in whatever resolutions are submitted. And their intentions are generally more economic than the NGOs.
Are you saying that the pharmaceutical companies will use countries as proxies to control the world's approach to refugee health?
No, Darren. All I'm saying is that this relationship is very important to understand when we look at how the legislation is valued. A charter that has no support from any pharmaceutical company will have little chance of success on the ground.
It appears as though NGOs and pharmaceutical companies work in completely different worlds.
Far from it. After all, they work very closely together. NGOs that intervene in refugee situations need to bring medicine, for example. One thing that we've seen, however, is that although pharmaceutical companies have the tendency of working together to create market conditions that will benefit them all, often throwing their collective weight behind certain pieces of legislation, NGOs seem to be less likely to coordinate. And we have seen that this lack of coordination can be quite costly, both in monetary and health-related terms. It's definitely something that requires further research.
The pharmaceutical companies seem to have quite a lot of power.
Yes, they do, Darren. However, you also asked about the NGOs. Their support is important too, since, after all, it is NGOs who usually set up refugee camps and provide the technical and medical support on the ground level. They have a different agenda, though. They are more idealistic than the pharmaceuticals and will be more inclined to support legislation that gives more rights to refugees.
Thank you, Jodie. You have given us quite the picture. This was the BBC Health News Report. Remember to tune in to our round-the-clock coverage at the conference.